What if the solid reality you know is just a projection, a complex code that someone actually managed to decipher? This video reveals the shocking true story of a man who saw behind the veil, only to suddenly vanish shortly after. Prepare to question everything. Have you ever felt deep down that there's more to this world than meets the eye? We begin with a young man named Michael Talbot, not merely a writer of fascinating ideas, but a soul who, from his earliest days, seemed attuned to frequencies beyond the ordinary. He walked among us, yet perceived a world layered with the inexplicable. Perhaps you recognize that feeling? That quiet sense of not quite belonging, of seeing shadows or hearing whispers that others dismiss. That subtle, persistent intuition that the stage of reality has hidden compartments, unseen mechanisms at play. Who among us hasn't felt a chill run down their spine in an empty room, experienced a moment of knowing something they couldn't possibly know, or felt the strange resonance of déjà vu so strongly it stops you in your tracks? For many, these are fleeting curiosities. For young Michael, they were the very fabric of his existence. His childhood wasn't marked by just imagination, but by tangible events that defied easy explanation. Objects moving inexplicably, disturbances akin to poltergeist activity, flashes of insight that seemed like telekinesis, even unsettling glimpses of what felt like other realities, other beings. Imagine carrying such experiences within you, trying to reconcile them with the mundane world everyone else seemed perfectly content with. These weren't sought-after thrills. They were often confusing, sometimes frightening realities that hammered relentlessly at the door of his perception. And they forged in him a question, not of casual curiosity, but of deep, existential urgency. If these things can happen, if they did happen to him, then what does that reveal about the very nature of reality itself? The standard explanations, the neat boxes of conventional science and society, simply couldn't contain the raw data of his own life. Here lies a profound paradox. Outwardly, a young man navigating the usual paths of life. Inwardly, a consciousness grappling with phenomena that shattered the very foundations of the world others took for granted. How does one live with such dissonance? How do you speak of the unspeakable, explain the inexplicable, when the world around you insists it cannot be? His journey, therefore, wasn't born from intellectual abstraction in a quiet library. It was a deeply personal quest, a desperate need to find a map that could make sense of the territory he was actually navigating. He needed a larger framework, a more profound understanding of the cosmos that could accommodate the bizarre and the beautiful strangeness he knew to be real. And so, these early glimpses, these unsettling intrusions of the extraordinary, became something more. They transformed from mere anomalies into vital clues. They were the breadcrumbs left by reality itself, hinting at a structure far more intricate, far more mysterious, and ultimately far more interconnected than most of us ever dare to imagine. They were the keys that would eventually lead him to a theory, a potential code, that promised to unlock the very secrets of our holographic universe. So where did these strange clues lead Michael Talbot? To a concept so radical, it challenges the very bedrock of our perceived existence, the holographic universe. Imagine for a moment a real hologram. Not the trick projections you see at concerts, but a true laser hologram recorded on a plate. If you shatter that plate, each tiny fragment, no matter how small, doesn't just contain a piece of the image. It holds the entire image, perhaps just a bit fuzzier. The whole is encoded in every part. Talbot, drawing upon the fringes of physics and neuroscience, proposed that our universe operates on a similar principle. It's not a vast machine made of separate bits and pieces. Stars here, planets there, you over here, me over there. Instead, he suggested, it might be a single, seamless, indivisible whole. A gigantic cosmic hologram. This wasn't just a wild guess. He stood on the shoulders of giants. Think of the physicist David Bohm. Bohm spoke of two layers to reality. There's the explicate order, the unfolded world we see and touch, the world of separate objects and linear time. But underlying this, Bohm theorized an implicate order, a deeper, enfolded reality, where everything is fundamentally interconnected, like ripples beneath the surface of a vast, unseen ocean. Everything we experience in the explicate world is merely an unfolding from this deeper, implicate source. Then there was the neuroscientist Karl Pribram. He observed that memories don't seem to be stored in one specific spot in the brain. Remove parts of the brain and memories might fade, but they often don't disappear entirely, much like shattering that holographic plate. Pribram proposed that the brain itself might function holographically, interpreting a universe that is fundamentally composed not of matter, but of frequencies, waveforms, patterns of interference. Our brain, in this view, acts like a sophisticated receiver, tuning into specific frequencies within this vast holographic field and translating them into the rich sensory world we experience. Talbot's genius wasn't necessarily in originating these specific ideas, but in weaving them together. He saw how Bohm's interconnected implicate order and Pribram's holographic brain model could potentially explain not only the everyday world, but also the strange phenomena that conventional science struggled with. The very phenomena he had experienced his whole life. He built a bridge between the mystical and the scientific. Consider your dreams. While you're dreaming, that reality feels completely solid, doesn't it? You interact with it, feel emotions within it. It's only upon waking that you recognize it as a projection of your own consciousness. What if, Talbot dared to ask, our waking reality is simply another kind of projection, perhaps more stable, more complex, governed by consistent rules, but a projection nonetheless, generated from a deeper, holographic level of existence. This idea alone is staggering, but the holographic model goes even further. It doesn't just describe the structure of the universe, it hints at the incredible role played by something we often take for granted, our own consciousness. If the universe is a hologram, what does that mean for the observer? Are we just watching the show, or are we somehow involved in creating it? The answer to that question is where this theory truly begins to reveal its mind-bending power, and perhaps its mystery. Here's where the holographic concept shifts from a fascinating model of the universe to something deeply personal, potentially empowering, and profoundly mysterious. In this view, consciousness isn't just a byproduct of brain chemistry, a ghost in the machine witnessing a predetermined reality. Instead, consciousness is fundamental. It's an active participant, interacting directly with the holographic field. Think about the strange world of quantum physics, distilled simply. Experiments show that on the smallest scales, the very act of observing a particle seems to influence its state. It's as if reality waits for a conscious look to decide how it will manifest. Talbot suggested this isn't just a quirk of the microworld, it's a fundamental principle operating on a cosmic scale. Our consciousness isn't separate from the universe it observes. It's intrinsically woven into the fabric of the hologram, potentially influencing how the code unfolds into perceived reality. This holographic framework also provides an elegant understanding for other quantum oddities, like non-locality and entanglement. Entanglement describes how two particles, once linked, can remain connected instantaneously, mirroring each other's state, no matter how far apart they are. Faster than light speed allows for information travel in the conventional sense. In a holographic universe, this isn't so strange. If everything originates from and is part of a single, undivided holographic source, then separation is, in a sense, an illusion. The particles aren't sending signals. They are still fundamentally connected within the implicate order, the enfolded whole. Distance becomes irrelevant at that deeper level. What does this mean for you, for your lived experience? It suggests that phenomena we often label as paranormal or mere coincidence, might actually be natural expressions of this holographic interconnectedness. That gut feeling, that sudden intuition about someone or something, could it be your consciousness accessing information directly from the holographic field? That uncanny synchronicity, where the perfect person, message, or opportunity appears exactly when needed. Could it be the underlying pattern of the hologram manifesting itself in your reality, perhaps even nudged by your own focused intention or awareness? Have you ever thought intently about someone you haven't spoken to in years, only to have them call you that very day? Or have you experienced a series of meaningful coincidences that seem too perfect to be random chance? The holographic model invites us to see these not as flukes, but as glimpses of the interconnected web we are all part of. And here resides a moment for quiet contemplation. Pause with this thought. If our awareness truly interacts with and influences this holographic reality, what does that imply about our potential? What incredible responsibility, what untapped power might lie dormant within us? Are we perhaps co-creators of this intricate cosmic dream, weaving our reality with the threads of our own consciousness? Just breathe with that immense possibility for a moment. This brings us back to Pribram's holographic brain. If our brain acts as a complex receiver, decoding frequencies from the universal hologram to construct our sensory world, then perhaps different states of consciousness, deep meditation, lucid dreaming, profound creative flow, allow us to tune into different frequencies, different layers or aspects of that vast holographic spectrum. Perhaps we can access information and experiences beyond the limitations of our everyday waking state. Understanding this deepens the implications of Talbot's work immensely. He wasn't just describing the universe, he was hinting at the very nature of our being within it. A nature far more powerful, interconnected, and mysterious than conventional paradigms allow. And if consciousness holds such sway, revealing this knowledge, truly grasping its implications, well, perhaps that carries its own weight, its own unforeseen consequences. So we have this breathtaking concept, a universe operating like a vast hologram, deeply interconnected, with consciousness playing a key role. How did Michael Talbot use this radical framework? He applied it to the very mysteries that had haunted and fascinated him, suggesting that many phenomena labeled paranormal or impossible might actually be natural consequences of living in a holographic reality. Think about telepathy or clairvoyance, knowing something at a distance, seemingly without physical means. In the holographic model, if all information is fundamentally interconnected within the implicate order, then perhaps our consciousness, under certain conditions, can access that information directly, bypassing the usual constraints of space and time. It wouldn't be sending a signal, it would be resonating with information already present everywhere within the field. Consider the power of the mind in healing, like the well-documented placebo effect. If consciousness interacts directly with the holographic field, and our physical body is a projection within that field, then perhaps focused intention, belief, and awareness can directly influence the blueprint of our physical form, facilitating healing in ways that seem miraculous from a purely materialist perspective. What about experiences reported during near-death events or out-of-body sensations? If consciousness isn't solely generated by the brain, but rather interacts with it like a receiver interacting with a broadcast, then perhaps consciousness can continue to function, even perceive, temporarily independent of the physical body's limitations, when that receiver is damaged or offline. It could be experiencing other layers of the holographic reality directly. And those persistent tales of ghosts or apparitions? Perhaps they aren't necessarily spirits in the traditional sense, but something akin to holographic recordings, strong emotional events or patterns of energy imprinted onto the fabric of space-time, the holographic field itself, which sensitive individuals might perceive under certain conditions, like echoes in the hologram. Even those meaningful coincidences, the synchronicities that feel guided or purposeful, Talbot suggested they might be manifestations of the underlying holographic pattern. As our consciousness aligns with certain intentions or states of being, the larger pattern of the hologram might reflect that alignment back to us in meaningful ways, creating ripples in the fabric of our perceived reality. Think back now, perhaps to stories you've heard, folk tales, unexplained events in your own life or the lives of those you know. Could the holographic universe offer a lens, a framework, to understand these glitches in the matrix not as errors or delusions, but as profound glimpses into the way reality actually works beneath the surface? For Talbot, this theory wasn't just intellectual speculation, it was a homecoming. It provided a coherent structure that could finally make sense of the extraordinary tapestry of his own life experiences. He wasn't flawed or broken. He was simply attuned to the deeper holographic nature of existence that most of us overlook in our daily hustle. These phenomena, then, might not be violations of natural law. They might be the very evidence of a higher, more interconnected law, the law of the hologram, revealing itself in moments that shatter our ordinary perception. Talbot wasn't just proposing a theory. He felt he was handing us a key, a cipher, to decode the profound, interconnected, and often magical reality hidden just behind the veil of the mundane. A secret was being unveiled, a secret about the very nature of what is real. So let's gather the threads. We followed Michael Talbot from a childhood touched by the inexplicable, through his relentless quest for answers that could contain his reality. We saw him weave together the threads of cutting-edge physics from David Bohm and the neurological insights of Karl Pribram. And from this synthesis emerged a breathtaking vision, the universe as a hologram. A single undivided field of potential, where every part reflects the whole, where space and time themselves might be constructs of our perception. And crucially, he placed consciousness not as a passive observer on the sidelines, but as the active key, the element that interacts with this holographic code, collapsing waves of potential into the concrete reality we experience. He essentially told us, "You are not separate gears in a cold, dead machine. You are integral nodes of awareness within a vast, living, interconnected ocean of information and energy. Your thoughts, your focus, your very being sends ripples through this cosmic sea." Can you feel the shift this understanding invites? That profound aha moment when the pieces click into place. If Talbot was even partially right, then suddenly so much that felt fragmented begins to cohere. The strange whispers of intuition, the uncanny synchronicities, the power of belief to shape our physical state, even the most bizarre psychic phenomena, they cease to be anomalies breaking the rules. Instead, they become potential evidence of the rules, the deeper rules of an interconnected holographic reality. Every focused intention matters. Every compassionate thought resonates. We are inextricably linked, not just metaphorically, but perhaps physically, holographically. He laid bare this potential code, offered this expansive vision in his masterwork, The Holographic Universe, published in 1991. A culmination of his life's experiences and research. A potential key to unlocking a new understanding of ourselves and our cosmos. And then, the silence. Just 1 year later, in 1992, Michael Talbot passed away. He was only 38 years old. While the documented cause was a form of leukemia, the timing is what startles, what lends an air of profound mystery to his story. The voice that had just begun to articulate this radical code, the mind that dared to synthesize such disparate fields into a unified vision, suddenly went quiet. He vanished from the conversation abruptly, right at the cusp, just as his ideas were poised to ripple further into collective awareness. It feels almost like a cosmic cliffhanger. Did he see too much too clearly? Is there a hidden cost to peering so deeply behind the curtain of perceived reality? Or was his task simply complete? Had he delivered the core message, planted the seed, leaving the rest of the unfolding to us? We don't have definitive answers, but the timing hangs in the air, thick with unanswered questions. He gave us a glimpse into the infinite potential of a holographic reality, a universe brimming with connection and shaped by consciousness. And then, he was gone, leaving us with the map, the key, and the echoing silence of the messenger. All right, the theory itself is mind-bending, a universe of possibility. The story of Michael Talbot is undeniably intriguing, tinged with mystery. But perhaps you're wondering, sitting there right now, maybe feeling the weight of your own daily struggles, your own search for meaning or relief. What does any of this really mean for me? How can understanding reality as a potential hologram help navigate the very real challenges and complexities of life? The invitation isn't necessarily to start trying to bend spoons with your mind today. The most profound shifts often begin not with grand actions, but with subtle adjustments in perception. So here is one simple shift, one small experiment you can try, starting right now in the midst of your ordinary moments. Begin to notice the small coincidences, the little synchronicities that pepper your day. That song playing on the radio right when you think of it. Running into someone you were just talking about. Finding the exact piece of information you needed seemingly by chance. Our usual habit is to dismiss these as random quirks, meaningless noise. But just for today, try this. When one of these moments occurs, instead of brushing it aside, pause for just one single breath. And gently ask yourself, internally, what if this isn't random? What if this is a small echo of a larger pattern? A tiny ripple from that interconnected holographic field Talbot described. A quiet reminder that maybe, just maybe, everything is connected. Or here's another way. When you face a challenge, a situation that feels stuck, rigid, unchangeable, take a moment. Breathe, and introduce a gentle inquiry into your awareness. What if this situation, this feeling, this obstacle, has a flexibility I'm not currently perceiving? What if my own perception, my own state of being, is part of the equation here, part of the hologram? This isn't about magically dissolving problems overnight. It's about introducing a little space, a little fluidity, into your perception of reality. It's about gently questioning the assumption that everything is solid, separate, and fixed. This simple shift in how you observe your life can begin to subtly dissolve that feeling of being trapped in a purely material, often indifferent universe. It can open a small window to wonder, to intuition, to the possibility that you are indeed part of something vast, mysterious, and deeply interconnected. The initial key isn't about control, it's about recognition. Recognizing the potential echoes of the hologram in the fabric of your own unique experience. And so, we've journeyed through the extraordinary life and ideas of Michael Talbot, a man who felt the strange currents beneath the surface of reality, who dared to look at the code, proposing a universe that is holographic, deeply interconnected, and intimately responsive to consciousness itself. We've touched upon the profound mystery surrounding his sudden departure, a silence that amplifies the echoes of his message. Talbot may be gone, but the provocative ideas he synthesized remain, like a key left for us to find. Perhaps the physicist David Bohm, whose work deeply influenced Talbot, captured the essence when he said, "The ability to perceive or think differently is more important than the knowledge gained." The question lingering in the air now isn't just, what if Talbot was right? It evolves into something far more personal, far more immediate. How might I choose to live my life differently, if there's even a chance that reality is far more magical, interconnected and responsive than I was taught to believe? What potential sleeps within that possibility? If this exploration into the holographic universe and the mystery of Michael Talbot has expanded your perception or sparked your curiosity, please show your support with a like. Subscribe to Mystic Sages for more journeys into the heart of wisdom and mystery. And share this video with anyone you feel might benefit from questioning the nature of their reality. And now, we'd be honored to hear from you. Reflecting on everything we've explored today, what was the single most intriguing idea about the holographic universe that resonated with you? Share your thoughts, your insights, your questions in the comments below. Your perspective enriches this ongoing conversation,